All right, YouTube, we're going to do this live. I'm just going to do a follow up of this week's events. And I thought this appropriate. I just happened to be by here. So you're watching the downtown rush hour, such as it is. A lot better than it used to be when they put the 580 bypass in, really alleviated traffic here on the main street through the center of town. So it looks like just a small, sleepy place. But I bring you the view of the great Ormsby House. This is the biggest real estate debacle probably in Nevada history. This place has been for sale and rebought more times in the last 20 years than probably any. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything comparable out there. It's pretty bizarre. But yeah, this used to be a hop-in casino hotel, and it got mismanaged and resold and mismanaged again, and it sits here empty basically for the last 20 plus years. It's been remodeled. It never didn't look like this before. It's been remodeled. Somebody bought it, remodeled it, and now it's for sale again. As you can see, we're just across the street. But this I think is emblematic of our current financial situation with the way the U.S. bond market works. It's been redesigned and re-imaged and resold, repackaged so many times over the years, and here it stands, ready to be bought again for a low discounted price or whatever it is, and yet still unusable and just unsuitable for what it's designed for. Now that the bypass in this place is like just not in a prime location like it used to be downtown here, because all the traffic goes around town. As you can see, very low traffic numbers down here, especially when the legislature's not in session. So we're fortunate that our legislative session only happens once every 2 years, unlike a lot of you who the legislators are constantly finding ways to take your money and infringe on you. We only have it happen about 3 months every 2 years. So we have that going for us. But yeah, this place is just a land developer's debacle that nobody can seem to get their fingers and hands on, and it just sits here. And it looks shiny, kind of like the U.S. bonds look shiny. But yeah, I just wanted to follow up. We got some people checking in. Adventurous Guide to the Galaxy. What's up, Steve? Chipper? Not Mumwaldy. Welcome to the chat. Don't think I've seen you in the chat before. All right. And Steve's lurking. But yeah, so the Fed, like we talked last week, I'm going to try to have my coffee here while we're doing this. So that PCE number, core inflation number, came out last week, a little bit hotter than expected, like we talked about. The Fed came out in the afternoon and basically is like, we're going to hold steady. We're not ready to cut yet, basically, is kind of what they tried to tell everybody. And Monday morning, yesterday, basically the commodities market said, we don't believe you. Even if you do, I think the implication is if you do cut, it's going to be just as bad as if you don't for inflation. And we're going to get our things, our stuffs while we can. Gold continues to hit all-time highs, and it was up over 2250 and kind of slid back a little bit. I didn't check it right before this, but all those metals and things are just continuing to bump up, and people are continuing to buy stuff while the getting's good. Interestingly, I think the stock market was kind of like flat, more or less. I don't think they've made a decision on what they think it's going to mean for them, but it's all for sale. Bonds, we're like 4.3 now on the 10-year. I haven't checked the inversion of the bond market, but the bond, the inversion, it's like the inversion of the bond market has been so critical in the past on identifying recessions, but yet now we just kind of ignore it, even though it's been flashing this red pretty much since early 2019, is when the first inversions really started happening between the 2, 5, and 10-year. And we sit here with it continually just cycling the red alarm signal. and yeah. So it's interesting. A lot of things are raking in the goods, but everybody's kind of holding pat on the paper market side of your bonds. So it's like the stock market sits here like this building, and like the 10-year bond market, just waiting for somebody to buy. We shall see. There was an article yesterday, I think. It may have been over the weekend. I think it was yesterday, of the Fed warning that the deficits are a danger to the United States. Like, you think it's like the very thing you create, unsustainable debt and debt loads, and they're warning the government that they can't continue to spend like this. Like, you're the reason it's like this. Yeah, the Fed's going to try to wash their hands. It was basically like the Fed, it talked about Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan and all the big heavy hitters there in those funding departments, like warning the government, like, oh, you can't continue to have these deficits. It's bad for the stability of the economy in the country. Like, haven't people been saying this for a while now? Like, but you've been continuing to encourage it because you're going to get yours and get out. The whole mission, one bank to rule them all, right? So the bankers continue to get away with murder, and our politicians continue to give them cover instead of, I don't know. I wouldn't arrest them. Let's put it that way. Arrest is too good for them, in my mind. Maybe deportation would be enough, but I don't know. So everything's for sale. Nobody's buying. Nobody's buying the future hollowed out skeleton, it seems, of this country. People continue to find other things to put their money into, probably with good cause, because the debt sandwich is going to be pretty astounding when it all unravels, as we've talked about. But it continues to go slowly, which is keeps the sheep in line, because there's no big explosions, no big warning signs, nothing really hits people's front morning page paper, or their ride to work isn't affected, their Starbucks coffee isn't affected, other than a little bit of price changes, which they continue to figure out. I don't see how people continue to buy a Starbucks every day. Like, how are these coffee places continuing in business? Like, it's like a coffee, pull-in coffee stop, not just Starbucks, but others, every other block around here. They're across the street from each other, and they're both busy these times of days. And it's like, it's, $6, $7, $8 for a cup of coffee. Like, how are these places staying in business? The people want that more than anything, it seems. And we talked about the futures last week in the commodities markets. Like, coffee's not out of control. Like, the demand for it seems to be out of control. How does that work? I don't know. So it hasn't hit the cocoa level on the coffee. I don't remember, when was the coffee shortage? A few years back, coffee kind of spiked, and we talked about storage of coffee and stuff. Was it like 2016, 17? Something like that. But yeah, it's crazy how things just continue to get drug along. When you look at it, you're like, this is unsustainable. It's unsustainable. Hey, what's up, Red? Red October checked in. How's things? Housing trucks need to come down. Yeah, that's not going to happen, Red. Better ride that truck for 30 years Um, that's at least what I'm thinking. Uh, there was an article about something about housing. Now that you mentioned housing, the biggest mistake we ever made was allowing the banks to leverage housing as an asset, and it became a piggy bank for people. Not even a piggy bank, a slush fund, unstable one at that, and allowed these markets. And that's what happened, kind of in '08. But all these refi policies and all these refi accounts, and the banks able to leverage. Banks are able to leverage the housing cycle every time. Somebody else buys it, they got to get a loan from the bank, and that because the banks created the inflation that makes the prices so high, so you can't save up to buy anything. And if you just need a small loan, it's not really small anymore. The banks just got leverage all over the housing market, and now they're leveraged into mortgage-backed securities and all these other derivatives, and it's like insane. It's like, have you ever played it's like in the casino, is it the craps table, where you bet on a bet of a bet, like you bet on somebody else, you're betting on somebody else rolling the dice, but you can also make side bets. And I think it's the same on the roulette wheel, if I remember. It's been a long time since I've been to the casino. But you can play the field, you can play the multiple numbers, and you got red or black, and all these things that the basically what the bankers are doing with the way they do the housing market. And it's I don't know, if people aren't concerned, they should be, because the banks aren't going to take the hit, because the politicians are going to let them. We learned this in '08, right? The politicians are going to get the bailout. They're the banks, right? Because the banks own the politicians, so the politicians got to do what the banks say. So here we are with politicians making the rules to benefit them, so that when it all does fall apart in their casino, they make out, they consolidate their real winnings of real goods and real stuff and real properties. And who was it? Was it Jefferson, or was it? It was one of them. It wasn't Hamilton, but it was basically, if a central bank is ever formed in America, will be renters on our own in our own country or something like that. And here we are. But oh, we got Dad in YouTube is checked in. Stuart, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Yeah, Dad, your poverty poor index is went up around here. Gas is over $4 a gallon just over the weekend. It all, I think, 10 to 15 cents depending on what station it was. Pretty much everywhere is over $4 now. So here we are, continuing to bump up on that Dad on YouTube inflation scale, at least on our end. Got a few minutes here. We'll have to check it out, but thanks for dropping by. Just wanted to check in and refresh on the on the inflation index from last week and what the markets did after the fact. And kind of like commodities are like, okay, see ya, we're out. And the market's like sitting there holding the bag, like, oh, we don't know what to do. And everybody's selling bonds, and the bond market continues to creep up. Oh, I think it was Jefferson, but I can't remember the quote exactly. But basically, we're going to be, renting on the continent that our forefathers conquered because of the banks, and we're very much there. Like, when do we make the bankers pay for the reckoning? I guess. Yeah, Dad, we're not so much reforms, but the lack of reform. Politicians providing cover for the banks was most of it. But the markets, yeah, just how they reacted to that Friday number and everything. Practical Rifleman, how you doing? I'm trying to get over a head cold, congestion and whatnot. It's one of those things, you wake up in the morning with the head cold, it's always worse, and it kind of eases through the day, and you're like, you feel better, and you get ready to go to bed, it's like, oh, catches back up to you. You just got to clear that sucker out. Uh-oh. Whoa. Um, so thanks for checking in. I hope everybody's staying frosty and paying attention. Trying to find your ways through that minefield of the inflationary system we're in. Living the dream, right on. If Dad says Disney's not doing nothing good, you know it's bad because Dad's a Noah is a regular Disney aficionado. But yeah, land for sale. That's the U.S. and we'll see who buys. There was just to finish it up. There was a thread on Twitter last week. A guy he was one of those guys. He's like tired of all the breakup of America and how it's gonna go down in a civil war. He was just like so frustrated by all the talk. He's like, it's not realistic, it's not going to happen, but here's what I would think, here's how he thought it would go. And he like broke down all the different regions and how they would fare in a breakdown of central government authority situation. It's pretty much worst case and everything. And I think in some ways we have it wrong because well, at least right now, if it was to happen, now, the breakdown of the central government, your state governments are strong. Your local governments, for the most part, are strong. They may be manipulated and controlled by federal dollars, but there's a lot of people in place that can keep things together, if you will. I don't think it would be quite as bad, and that's why, I've always been an advocate for secession to begin with, because that's the only way we got to get out of the Washington D.C. control grid. But it was an interesting thread as he went down, and one of the things he said was that the Mormons, the creation of a Mormon state out of Utah that would control fringe and boundary areas around them would be, and the way he wrote it is like that'd be one of the more easily homogeneous areas, I guess you'd say it. And I was like, you can pretty much, from the crest of the Rockies to the crest of the Sierra, could be under the control of that outfit if they did play their cards right. Because anybody that's in that area, if you got a functioning government that's willing to fight back against the cartels, we talked a lot about cartel violence and stuff, and the areas that are already undermined by those groups. But then you got the alphabet mafia and stuff. But if you had anybody willing to fight back against those organizations, people are going to support them, especially around here. So anyway, I got to get out of here. Have a good Tuesday, y'all. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, right. I'll just call you Mom, if that's right. There's no way they can avoid a collapse. It's just a matter of, exactly. And that's why, Dad's talked about it. We've talked about it. It's just a matter of when, it's just a matter of when it happens. We're in the slow burn. It's going slowly because they're able to ride it slowly. Like we talked about, the banks holding on to their gains, their ill-gotten gains, but it is a slow burn. Reds, do I not have a wrench in here? Not a single wrench. Okay, I guess somebody else got it, or I guess suck is a bad word. Yeah, the squatter situation is coming to the news lately. That's interesting. So we'll get out of here. Everybody stay safe like Corsair says. Hasta la vista. Auf Wiedersehen. And we will talk to y'all later, YouTube. Prep hard, live free.